Engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's 9 after the hour. I am Eric Erickson. This is Atlanta's Evening News on WSB. Welcome. The phone number, 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK. You can get the podcast and daily email by texting the word show to 444-999. There is local politics, the Casey Cagle situation continuing to develop. But before we get to any of that, some thoughts on Singapore and the summit with North Korea. First and foremost, one of the frustrating aspects of trying to be principled in politics these days and be consistent is the frustration of seeing many of your friends cheering when it's pretty obvious that if Barack Obama had done it, they would be booing, and then to see the Democrats doing the same. I mean, Democrats clearly need to get a clue that when they were cheering Barack Obama's deals with Iran and Cuba, they were ceding any moral ground to criticize President Trump and North Korea. And I have to be very honest with you, I have not read any real thought-provoking takes on the president's Singapore summit. It's everything. Nothing has really struck me as fascinating, as interesting. It's all kind of the run-of-the-mill stuff. My own included today, by the way. There was good and there was bad. And it is frustrating in that a lot of people don't want you to be able to talk about one or the other. If you praise what the president did, well, then you've clearly sold out. If you criticize what the president did, you've clearly sold out, or you were always never Trump, or the usual criticisms. But there were things to praise and things to criticize about the situation, and with my own audience, I hope I'll be allowed to walk through those praises and criticisms, and I'd like to start with the praises. Because President Trump has thrown out the old playbook on North Korea that very clearly was not working. I mean, we are where we are with North Korea because they've been able to develop nuclear weapons while all along, going back to the Clinton administration, pledging not to develop nuclear weapons. Bill Clinton had an infamous summit with the North Koreans where the North Koreans pledged to abandon all aspirations for nuclear weapons and have ever since fairly consistently plotted to build nuclear weapons. And has gotten to the point now where they can launch a missile, where they can launch a nuclear strike on the United States. But I want to go back a couple of months because I want to play you some audio from the press at the time. And it was, I believe the Washington Free Beacon did this montage of the media back last year when the President of the United States refused to go along with the way things had always been in North Korea. So I want you to listen to this audio.
We're probably closer to an outright war with North Korea.
Easily construe what he's been saying as a declaration or at least a threat of war.
Closer, in my view, to a nuclear war with North Korea and in that region than we've ever been. And I just don't see I don't see the opportunities to solve this diplomatically.
And I think that we should be concerned that this escalatory rhetoric between the leaders of two countries that have nuclear weapons is slipping very quickly.
I think there's about a 20% chance that we'll end up exchanging ordnance with North Korea at some point in a fairly significant way. About a 30% chance of war, I'd say, from where I sit right now.
Those were pundits and politicians who were prognosticating that the president's behavior with North Korea late last year and the beginning of this year were leading us to war with North Korea. And instead what happened is, for the first time, the President of the United States sat down with the North Korean leader to actually discuss face-to-face, man-to-man, the abandonment of their nuclear weapons program. And the same people who were saying that this was bringing us to war just a few months ago, are now saying, well, nothing's going to be accomplished with this. Folks, nothing has been accomplished in the last 20 years except that the North Koreans have developed nuclear weapons. So I'm okay with President Trump deciding to do something different. Totally okay with the president deciding to do something different. He should do something different. If what you're continually doing doesn't work, well, then try something new. The definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and it never working. We've had an insane policy when it comes to North Korea. So good for the president for trying to do something new. Good for the president getting the North Korean dictator to sit down with him. But bad for the president to praise Kim Jong-un the way he did. I realize President Trump negotiates with flattery. But to say that Kim Jong-un loves his people or that the people of North Korea love him is not true. And not only is it not true, it provides propaganda ammunition for the North Korean leader. It provides him a way to propagandize to his already brainwashed populace that he is something more than he actually is. And that's a real problem. It's a real problem because the man actually is a monster. And I don't use that term loosely. He is the closest thing we have on the planet right now to Hitler, Stalin, or Pol Pot. He is. He ruthlessly exterminates his people. And so I also understand the criticisms of people who say we shouldn't have treated them as equals in this because that's what they crave. In fact, Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas was on a radio program this morning where he said essentially because the North Koreans have nuclear weapons, we should sit down and talk to them and try to come to terms with them, which is essentially saying that if you're a tin pot dictator and you want to be taken seriously by the United States, get nuclear weapons. There is a real danger that other rogue regimes decide they need to get nuclear weapons. This is certainly an incentive for Iran to rush now to get nuclear weapons so that they can be taken seriously. And that's a problem. It is very good, I think, for the president to have reached out to North Korea and tried something different. In the past, repeatedly, with Clinton, Bush, and Obama, the North Koreans rattled their sabers, did some missile tests, and the United States sent them a large check for quote-unquote humanitarian aid. And it's pretty clear that that money was rolled then into their nuclear weapons program. And President Trump, when the North Koreans did their rattling of sabers, decided to rattle back and send the U.S. Navy to the Korean Peninsula. And suddenly we're doing things differently, and that's good. But it's really bad to give this man and this country a level of legitimacy that they don't deserve. It is a monstrous, barbaric regime. Genuinely monstrous, genuinely barbaric. And the president giving them that level of head-patting legitimacy, I think is problematic because it emboldens this regime in ways we may not even understand because they are so reclusive. This could very much wind up hurting us. But for Democrats complaining about this, please spare me, because I saw Barack Obama sit down with the Cuban leader and I saw him write a big check to the Iranians, sacrificing Democratic moral credibility on how to handle these people. If you're struggling to come up with a present for your dad for Father's Day, I've got a great one for you. It's actually a really cool website called Man Crates. Man Crates has hand-packaged gifts for every type of dad. For example, there's a knife making kit. There's a whiskey appreciation kit. I shouldn't even say kit. They're crates. They're wooden crates. They actually come with a crowbar for you to be able to open the crate. If you go to my Instagram page at EW Erickson, you'll see. You can get them for chefs. You can get them for hobbyists, hunters, fishermen, dads who like barware, dads who like sports, you name it. It's really got gifts for everyone. I really love the concept, and I actually like the products. I've actually got a bar set of pint glasses and coasters engraved with my name from Man Crates. Really handy, useful stuff your dad will love. Get your special Father's Day discount today at mancrates.com/Eric, ERICK. It's a limited time offer. It's only for Father's Day, so you got to go today. That's mancrates.com/Eric, ERICK. Mancrates, mancrates.com/Eric. You got to go to Man Crates, folks. Father's Day is coming up. Get your dad something really cool and unique, and with a crowbar. It is 26 after the hour. The phone number, 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK. Now, let's see. Can I do justice to a phone call? No. David, stay on the line. The rest of you as well, because I want to take your phone calls when we come back. We do have to get into the latest update on the Casey Cagle situation. I told David to stay on the line, and then he just hung up. I'm sorry. I got less than a minute. I want you guys to be able to talk. So, anyway, we do have to talk about the Casey Cagle situation as well. The Senate Education Committee Chairman, Lindsey Tippins, is speaking out. And he's suggesting criminal impropriety on Casey Cagle's part. He actually is. And this is a fascinating situation now because you have Clay Tippins and Lindsey is his uncle. This is going to be interesting to shape up, and will it really matter? He was so far ahead in the runoff. He was only a few points shy of 50%. The implications of that. But first, your phone calls on what you thought about North Korea when we come back. It's 39 after the hour. Eric Erickson here, taking your phone calls on what you thought about the Singapore summit between the United States and North Korea. 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK. Going first to Nick calling from Cumming. Nick, welcome to the program.
Hey, Eric. Thanks for taking the call.
Sure.
Hey, man, I think just getting to the table and being the first U.S. president to meet with Kim or any North Korean leader is a huge accomplishment in itself. That's first off. Second off, I think the strategy was kind of to create a relationship right off the base and just take it step by step after that. And I think, who knows the outcome, but it couldn't be any worse than what we had before.
Yeah, Nick, I think that's kind of where I am, actually. Can it be worse than what we had before? No, I don't think so. I mean, they're already on the verge of, if not past, being able to build a nuclear bomb. The question is, have they been able to scale it down and put it on a warhead? It doesn't appear they have, but they're headed in that direction. And this was after the Clinton summit, after Bush, after Obama, so why not try something new?
Exactly. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, thanks very much for the phone call on that, Nick. Yeah, I mean, that's what I think. There's still the issue of China, though, and we need to get there. But first, let's go. Roger, Cartersville, welcome.
Yes, thanks, Eric. I am curious. I've heard the president talk about that we would provide cover, protection, some sort of protection for Kim Jong-il. I wonder if the propaganda, the president patting him on the back and all that, I wonder if that was sort of a way of doing that. It's a cheap way to do it as far as, pat him on the back and everybody knows the president is behind him, gives him a little bit extra oomph because he's patted him on the back so well. And I know that Trump is big about, giving a lot of accolades to people whenever he's negotiating. But I just wonder if it was a little bit more planned than what we think, because that's a cheap way to give him some cover. Is through words, and yes, it is dangerous. I agree with that.
There are a number of people out there who have speculated that there may have been more to have happened behind the scenes, even in the run up to the summit, than was there. Yep. And there are also people speculating that perhaps one of Trump's negotiating positions was to suggest to Kim that he could be free of China's yoke. that they could in some way, if the North Koreans sided with us on this issue, that somehow they could be freed of the burden of being a Chinese subjugated state, which to a degree they are. I do think there is an issue to be had with China that a lot of people aren't really realizing, and that is the Chinese have a strong desire to not just be a regional superpower, but a global superpower. And they can't get to being a global superpower without being more of a regional superpower. And they can't be more of a regional superpower as long as the United States has a massive troop presence in Asia. So if the Kim regime was able to strike a peace accord with South Korea and ease American tensions, it could potentially see the American military leave the Korean Peninsula, which would help China ultimately. So no one wants to talk about China in this, but I think we have to. I think it was notable that the Chinese lent Kim Jong-un a 747, a rather new 747, to meet with President Trump on, as opposed to his Soviet-made airplane that was built in 1980. He wanted a newer plane. They put him in a 747 so he could have a plane just like the President of the United States. Had a fancy Mercedes to go along with the American president's Cadillac limo, so trying to make them look equal, even though they're not. And the Chinese had a role to play in that isn't really being commented on by most people. Again, I hate to say this because I got a lot of friends who are professional analysts and pundits and whatnot, but I just haven't been impressed with a lot of the commentary on the Korean situation. I just haven't. The phone number 404-872-0750-1-800 WSB Talk. Okay, you've got to tell me your name because I can't see it on the call screening program, but you're up next, whoever you are.
Yeah, my name's Rick.
All right, Rick, thanks for calling.
Hey, I'm so happy to get in contact with you. My like for Donald Trump probably just went up a lot higher. He, people don't realize it, but he is the first U.S. sitting president, that has come eye-to-eye contact with a North Korean leader. Mm-hmm. And those that him and haw about everything, they just don't realize the accomplishment that this man's done. So, and that's pretty much my statement. The rest of it, he said there's going to be a process. It's going to take time. A lot of these things aren't going to happen overnight. And I mean, just the same thing when you go comparing it with Gorbachev and Reagan, it didn't happen overnight.
Yep, that's true. The other issue here that I think we gotta be mindful of is that the North Koreans essentially are committing to all the things they committed to with Bill Clinton and then didn't do. And the question is this one-on-one FaceTime with the North Korean leader and the president, treating him as an equal, giving him the propaganda film. We haven't even gotten to that yet. The propaganda film, will that do something in a way that other administrations failed to do by giving him FaceTime, in some way disrespecting him by not treating him as an equal? Time will tell on that front. It is 54 after the hour. We're going to take a few more phone calls as I can get through for this hour on the Korean situation. We've got to move on in the next hour. But right now, let's go to Logan in Covington. Logan, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Eric.
Sure.
My biggest concern that would have come out of the summit is ending the joint exercises with the South Koreans. I'm former Air Force. I participated in the joint exercises. That is a very big reinsurance to South Korea. Every day those people live in fear of what North Korea may do. And I think that Trump left them out to hang high and dry. I would have liked to see easing of economic sanctions and then ending the exercises if things progressed. So
yeah, and just to clarify from the White House this evening, they intend to end the annual major war exercises, but the routine exercises, they say, will continue. So the routine day-to-day cooperation and exercising they're going to keep. But, yeah, the big war games they do every year, they are canceling that one.
Operation Red Flag.
Yeah, and
they're very thankful.
Yeah, it does seem. I mean, I realize it's a show of goodwill on the president's part, but it seems like there might have been other ways to do it. Although, to be fair to the president, one of his concerns is that we always ease the economic sanctions as a show of good faith, and they haven't changed their behavior. So let's try something new. I do get that. Donna in Kennesaw, you're up next. Welcome.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Good, thank you. I just wanted to say that I feel President Trump deserves credit and our respect for taking us somewhere that no other president has been able to do. And people need to remember that when Obama won, not everybody was happy about it, but a year and a half later, we weren't crying over it. And this is great news for the world. And those that have nothing positive to say really just need to grow up.
Well, there you go. Although I do think we shouldn't be dismissive of the concerns because we've been here before with North Korea. And a chief difference between the two is that we didn't put them on the world stage and treat them as an equal at the time. Maybe that's what we need to get concessions from them. But I think that just gives Kim Jong-un too much credit and praise, and we shouldn't do that. When we come back, we got to move on. State politics, Casey Cagle taking another hit from a colleague in the Senate.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's 9 after the hour. I am Eric Erickson. This is Atlanta's Evening News. The phone number, 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK. We've got to get into some local politics here. Only briefly, I suppose, for now. Lindsey Tippins is the chairman of the Senate Education Committee. He is not a fan of charter schools, and his proponents say, well, it's because he's data-driven and charter schools don't really work, which maybe in some cases they don't. But I just, when I hear people say so-and-so is data-driven, what really that is code for doesn't really have particular ideology on these issues. And I think school choice is actually an issue of liberty. It's not an issue of data. It's an issue of liberty. Being able to allow your kids to go elsewhere, to school outside of public schools. I have friends who give lots of money to the state scholarship program that is at the center of the Casey Cagle controversy. For those of you who don't know, there's a program in the state whereby you can donate money to various foundations, and you get a dollar-for-dollar state tax credit up to a certain amount. And what do I mean by that? If you donate $1,000, let's say you owe the state of Georgia $2,000 in income tax, and you donate $2,000 to one of these nonprofits, then you don't owe any income tax in Georgia. You actually get a dollar-for-dollar credit, meaning you subtract from your income tax bill the money owed. Now, they don't give you a money back. If you owe $1,000 to the state, you give $2,000 to one of these scholarship programs, you don't get $1,000 back. You just don't owe taxes. And I know people who max out to these organizations because it is essentially the only program in the state of Georgia whereby you get to direct your money, your tax dollars. And that, my friends, I think is a very big deal. Being able to say, you know what, I want my money to go to help poor people send their kids to private schools. And that's what the money is used for. The money is used for the ability for underprivileged families to be able to send their kids to private schools. If you listen to the critics of the program, what they say is that rich people apply for the scholarship and send their kids subsidized by the state. That's not actually what happens. Poorer families use the money to be able to go to private schools. And a lot of rich people, rich liberal people, don't like the program because it allows poor people into their kids' school. It's a dirty little secret. The situation with Casey Cagle involves two Tippenses. Clay, who ran for governor, and Lindsey, who is the Senate Education Committee chairman. And Clay, see, I'm already getting confused. Lindsey Tippin sat down and talked to Jim Galloway of the AJC about his situation with Casey Cagle, and essentially all but says Casey Cagle broke the law. And I'm wondering if this is going to spiral with a grand jury investigation by the Fulton County DA, given this interview. Let's get to this. What happened is Clay Tippins recorded Casey Cagle saying he needed to pass a bill to expand this scholarship, this tax credit scholarship, in order to keep Hunter Hill from getting a campaign contribution from the Walton Foundation that supports school choice. But Lindsey Tippin, the Senate Education Committee chairman, takes it a step further. Let me read you part of the AJC comment. I've had plenty of private closed-door political discussions, and the fact that Casey Cagle had one doesn't change my support for him to be governor, says Lynn Westmoreland, a Cagle supporter, who's now out attacking Clay Tippins. But there's another story of betrayal, according to Jim Galloway, during the closing days of the legislative session. It's essential to understand the Cagle-Tippins recording. Two pieces of charter school legislation were at play. One was House Bill 217, a bill to raise a cap on tax credits for charter schools. That's the topic that Clay Tippins raised. Another is HB 787, a measure to increase the amount of state money flowing to 20 state-approved brick-and-mortar charter schools. The House passed the latter bill, the one to support state brick-and-mortar charter schools, on February 22nd when it arrived in the Senate. It was sent to Lindsey Tippin's Education Committee and would eventually pass the Senate over Lindsey Tippin's objections. Tippin stonewalled conservative reform to expand education options, according to Scott Binkley, the Cagle campaign manager. Cagle worked with him as chairman, but grew tired of getting blamed for lack of progress, according to the Cagle campaign. That may be true, but it's incomplete, and Tippins contradicts many of the important parts. So Galloway went to Lindsey Tippin's living room. They lived down the street from each other, and he writes, on May 19th, the 38th day of the 40-day session, Tippin says he walked into the lieutenant governor's office with a spreadsheet to explain why he opposed House Bill 787. Under current state formula, Tippin said, funding for those 20 state-authorized brick-and-mortar charter schools stands at $8,415 per pupil, more than the combined state and local spending per student in 46 of 180 Georgia public schools, including Gwinnett County. House Bill 787 would increase it to $8,816, more than the combined state and local spending per student in 96 Georgia school districts. My question was, how do we explain this, says Lindsey Tippin, a former member of the Cobb County School Board, to spend the equivalent of all other public schools in Georgia who are required to take all comers would run to more than $500 million a year. Well, I got to have this bill, the lieutenant governor told him. And Tippin says, I can't pass it. Tippins described what came next. Cagle said, look, this is the deal. I've got to do something for charter schools. The Walton Family Foundation is fixing to put $2 million in Hunter Hill's campaign. If this bill passes, I'll get it in mine. So according to Lindsey Tippins, a Cobb County senator and the chairman of the Senate Education Committee, Casey Cagle wasn't just attempting to block funding for a gubernatorial rival, but was seeking to increase his own. Now, by the way, the Walton Education Coalition hasn't given money, but there was an outside group praising Cagle for supporting school choice reform. Now, here's the issue. If Cagle moved legislation as an elected official in order to financially benefit his campaign, and that's what Lindsey Tippins is claiming, that's a felony in the state of Georgia. Let me say that again. It is against the law in the state of Georgia for any elected official to move legislation in order to benefit himself financially. I can read you the statute if you like. It is entitled Improperly Influencing Legislative Action. It is OCGA Section 1610.4. Any officer of the state who asks for or receives anything of value to which he is not entitled in return for an agreement to procure or attempt to procure the passage or defeat of legislation by the General Assembly, or procure or attempt to procure the approval or disapproval of the same by the governor, shall be guilty of a felony. Any officer who receives anything of value to which he or she is not entitled in return for an agreement to procure or attempt to procure the passage of any legislation by the General Assembly shall be guilty of a felony. That's what Lindsey Tippins, the chairman of the Senate Education Committee, is accusing the lieutenant governor of doing. Now, whether it's true or not isn't the question. The question is, does the Fulton County DA who supports Stacey Abrams open a grand jury investigation because this happened inside Fulton County? Does he do this, politically motivated or not, and then have the media use it as a wedge to try to sway independent voters to Stacey Abrams? That's the dangerous game we're playing here with this. And it's one Republican voters need to think about in this primary runoff. Although you also have to keep in mind the Abrams campaign wants to run against Brian Kemp. I'll tell you why when we come back. You have probably seen the Dollar Shave Club ads. They're actually really awesome, really, really funny ads. I was one of the original Dollar Shave Club members when they came out. I mean, I totally bought into the ads. Really, really a cool shave club idea. It delivers everything you need to look, feel, and smell your best. You name it. They've got shampoo, conditioner, body wash, toothpaste, hair gel, even a wipe that'll leave your bottom feeling tingly clean. Dollar Shave Club is more than just razor blades. It has all these other things, and there's a great way to try a bunch of Dollar Shave Club's products. For just $5, you can get their Daily Essential Starter Set. It comes with body cleanser, One Wipe Charlie's, their amazing butt wipes, their world-famous shave butter, and their best razor, the 6-Blade Executive. 6 blades. Keep the blades coming for a few bucks more a month and add in shampoo, toothpaste, anything else you need for your bathroom. Check it all out at dollarshaveclub.com/Eric. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Eric, ERICK. It is 27 after the hour. Eric Erickson here on WSB. Folks, the phone number is 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK. A court has approved AT&T's purchase of Time Warner. Not Time Warner Cable, but Time Warner Media Properties. That includes Turner Broadcasting here in Atlanta. And as part of Turner Broadcasting, CNN. Now, I wonder, AT&T is a rather conservative organization. Its executives tend to give to Republicans more. It's been perceived as Trump-friendly. What's that, if anything, what would that do to CNN? I definitely think CNN needs to have something done. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I remember as I was leaving and Jeff Zucker was coming in, there were all sorts of hagiographic articles about what a genius he was, and it was going to be huge for the ratings. They were going to be competitive with Fox, and it hasn't panned out. I wonder if AT&T will do something different with them. It is 38 after the hour. The phone number 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK. Hat tip to Mike on Twitter, who pointed out Air Force One landed on Guam to refuel. The island did not tip over. Someone please send a message to Hank Johnson telling him everything is okay on Guam. I need to circle back to the Cagle thing just real quick. So a member of the State House points out that that Cagle essentially, in his defense of his conduct in the state legislature, says that he wanted to advance school reform in Georgia and had to go over Lindsey Tippin's head. He could have accepted his resignation, by the way, as chairman of the committee, but didn't. That he had to fight Lindsey on this, except in his audio with Clay Tippins, he was boasting about having beat the issue to a pulp time and time again. Why does he suddenly want to advance something he's laughing about beating to a pulp time and time again? Problematic there. Now, let's focus for a minute on big local news. It affects all of us to a degree or another, whether you see it or not. That is a judge ruling that AT&T can buy Time Warner. Now, there may be an appeal, but I suspect that this is going to go through. AT&T buying Time Warner for $85 billion. They're not buying the internet provider cable company. They're buying the content. They're buying Warner Brothers films. They're buying CNN. They're buying Cartoon Network. They're buying Turner Broadcasting, TBS, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're buying all those properties. Concurrently, Disney is trying to buy Fox. What makes that so interesting is that Disney is one of the last content companies trying to buy another content company, and right now, more and more, it is the broadband providers and cable companies buying the content providers. Like Comcast right now owns NBC Universal, and now it wants to buy Fox, which I'm not sure on a antitrust argument if that would even be viable for them, but they want to make a go of it. They want to challenge Disney. Disney wants to trade stock to buy Fox. Comcast is willing to make a cash offer because the cable provider has deeper pockets than Disney, ultimately, cash-wise. Disney doesn't have deep pockets right now because Star Wars. That's right, friends. Star Wars is not doing well, and it's deeply aggravating to me because I am a huge Star Wars fan. And Disney has mismanaged the property. Now, I know there are people, it's kind of like Apple products. You criticize Apple and you get a bunch of people and I'm a huge Apple fan. I am in the cult. Right now, I have on my desk my iPad, my iPhone, my MacBook Pro. I have an iMac behind me. I'm wearing my Apple Watch. I love Apple products. But I'm still willing to criticize the company, and some aren't. They get very defensive. And the same is true with Star Wars. There are people who will stake they will stake their life on the fact that The Last Jedi is a good movie when box offices globally are showing it's not. Audiences, by and large, are turned off to it. And the overriding issue, even in the cinema scores, is that they feel like the property's been disrespected. The handling of, Han Solo becoming this tragic figure. There's no redemption arc for him. Luke Skywalker becoming this embittered figure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Disney is having trouble because of the failures of Star Wars and Kathleen Kennedy to be able to buy Fox from a competitive position. Comcast is going to go after them. It's interesting to see these broadband, essentially the pipe suppliers, buying the content suppliers, putting them all together. The internet is really continuing to disrupt the media. It first disrupted newspapers, then it disrupted radio. Now it's disrupting TV and TV content. Netflix has been the ultimate disruptor in this. Where we go with this, I'm not sure, but I do wonder if AT&T, which is by and large a conservative organization, if AT&T begins to make changes at CNN and properties like it, because I think CNN has bought into some of the social justice warrior nonsense. So CNN today, they're championing this merger as a rebuke to the Trump administration, which sought to block it. And that's part of CNN's problem. You know, when I left CNN, and by the way, I feel like I need to say this. I criticize CNN from a position of actually loving the network. I'm a big fan of CNN. I grew up with it overseas. It was the news network I get. The Bernard Shaw, Frank Sesno, Judy Woodruff, Robert Novak, the Evans Novak report. I was a huge political junkie. I grew up with that before Fox existed, before any other major news network existed. And when I was leaving CNN, going to Fox, largely going to Fox from CNN because I felt under assault every day, and I wasn't sure that the network had my back. I was willing to stay at CNN, even though Fox was offering more money. I was willing to stay at CNN because I like CNN, but they wouldn't put in my contract provisions protecting me essentially from the mob, that if I said something on radio or at the Resurgent, I didn't want them coming after me. They didn't want to go that road, but they kept saying, you know, Zucker's more flexible. He'll turn a blind eye. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And they wouldn't put it in writing. And so I left because there were nights where I was staying up worried. Am I going to be out of a job? Am I going to get suspended for something I've said on the radio because someone has taken something out of context? And I had real concerns because it started happening more and more. And I also felt bad that the PR shop was kept busy. I mean, they could have had one person just dedicated to me. Media Matters taking words out of context on the show all the time. And I was just starting out, too. I hadn't found my footing. So I was concerned about all that. So I went to Fox. Roger Ailes took me out to dinner. We had a great time. He offered a job at Fox, and I took it. Little did I know it was in large part to keep me off networks altogether. But nonetheless, I don't really regret that from a professional situation, in that it allowed me to stretch my legs and find my voice on the show, which I view myself now way more as a talk radio show host than as a blogger or a TV guy, even though I was in TV before radio. But as I was leaving CNN, there was this huge just celebration within the media at large over Jeff Zucker going to CNN from NBC. He had been the guy who turned around the Today Show, made it competitive, on and on and on, the turnaround artist in NBC, and they were finally going to give Roger Ailes a run for his money. And you know, Roger, we talked about that at dinner because the news was breaking as Roger was luring me to Fox. And he was completely dismissive of it, that Jeff Zucker was in a liberal bubble. And the key to Fox's success was that they paid attention to what people outside major metropolitan liberal areas paid attention to. And that has always been Fox's success. And Zucker never really did that. He went for sensational headlines, and he thought that's what Fox was doing. He wasn't actually paying attention to heartland stories, to River Valley stories, to where people live in the heartland. They were capturing all the buzz of the missing Malaysian Airjet and whatnot, but otherwise they were liberal. And I think they more so have trended in that direction. Problematically, they're still, I think, a fairly balanced network in parts, but they also, this obsession with Donald Trump, I think, is probably the most annoying thing about CNN right now. Not everything involves the president, and yet CNN goes out of its way now to tie things to the president, like the AT&T Time Warner merger. They make things partisan that aren't. And I wonder, AT&T being a more Trump-friendly organization than Warner has been in the past, AT&T being just institutionally more conservative, I wonder if they're going to start making changes at CNN. I think there are changes that can be made at CNN and possibly should be made at CNN. I don't know that AT&T will, though. Of course, Randall Stevenson, the CEO of AT&T, is the guy who helped screw up the Boy Scouts, so we shouldn't hold our breath. Okay, I love this story from the Washington Free Beacon. Claire McCaskill, the Democratic senator in Missouri, who CNN has listed as one of the most endangered members of the Senate, she is on an RV trip through Missouri. She has a very expensive bus, and she is touring Missouri on her bus. And she's made a big deal about riding the bus to parts of Missouri. Sometimes Washington Free Beacon notes there's perfect overlap between her private jet and her RV. Wherever all the cities where the RV goes, surprise, Claire McCaskill's private plane shows up there, and the bus winds up picking Claire McCaskill up. So she's claiming to ride an RV around Missouri, but she can't even be bothered to ride on the RV. She has to fly her private jet so she doesn't have to spend the night on the road or whatnot. Good grief. Let's see. The plane, according to its tracking for the day of the tour from Waynesville in central Missouri to Springfield and then to Joplin, the plane took the same route as the campaign RV. It left St. Louis, where it's based, headed towards Springfield just after 3 p.m., and arrived 30 minutes later, right around when McCaskill was done meeting with local student journalists on the RV, according to her blog. The plane then traveled west towards Joplin, and then at 5:22 p.m., 7 minutes after McCaskill posted that she was done with her event in Joplin, the plane took off towards Kansas City, the site of her first event the next day. The plane landed at 5:51 p.m., about 2 hours earlier than the RV would have arrived. On Wednesday, according to his tracking data, the plane took the same route as the campaign RV tour, from Kansas City to St. Joseph, then to Columbia. She couldn't even ride the bus a 3 hour. Well, I'm a senator. My time is valuable. Casey Cagle, when he tours Georgia, he's the lieutenant governor of the state of Georgia. He rides the bus. Brian Kemp rides it. David Perdue, a United States senator of the same stature as Claire McCaskill, he rides the campaign bus. What is it about Democrats? And, they demonize private jets, and then they love to get on them and fly. I personally want a NetJet subscription. I'm a little jealous, but still, I'm not the one demonizing people who fly private jets. It's the Democrats like Claire McCaskill who are, and yet she's on it. Goodness gracious. All right, folks, we will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.